Joe Biden's campaign is indeed collapsing as the rigged polls are revealed to be fakes. In this video, we're going to take a look at how Biden is actually struggling to get just 8 people to show up at his campaign rallies, how an analyst has uncovered some pretty shocking manipulation in the polling data, and how literally every single other metric out there is pointing to nothing less than a massive Trump victory in November. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone, patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. Hope you're having a wonderful beginning to your week. If you're new to our channel, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we together celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Let's start with a video chat question of the day, shall we? Do you believe the polls that Biden is ahead of Trump? Let us know in the comment section below. Do you believe these polls? Because I'm going to show you exactly why they are all bunk and totally fake, and why you can be sure that Trump is well on his way to a massive victory in November. But first, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at Virtual Shield. Gang, if you're not using a VPN or virtual private network on your desktop, tablet, or mobile device while browsing the internet, then you know you really are exposing yourself to a lot of potential danger. But protecting yourself online simply has never been easier. And to make it even better, to sweeten the deal, as it were, Virtual Shield is offering our audience 50% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, so do not wait. This is a limited time offer. Click on that link in the description below and sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN today. All right, let's dive right in here. Look, if all we had to go by in assessing the state of this election, if all we had to go by were the rally attendances for each of the candidates, this election would be forecasted as the single biggest blowout election in the history of American politics. Look at this, right? Do you know what this is? It's the audience in attendance at a Biden rally in Erie, Pennsylvania. It looks like the attendance for a book signing for, the author of, My Life as a Dentist. I mean, no offense to dentists out there. The rally drew only 12 to 20 people, and that included Biden's staff. It gets worse. On Thursday of last week, both Biden and Harris held a campaign event in Phoenix, Arizona. It was touted by the mainstream media as evidence that Biden is making significant inroads into the states that Trump won in 2016. This is it. This is amazing. Biden's going to take Arizona away from Trump. Just one problem. Virtually all of the reporting failed to mention one little inconvenient truth. Only 8 people showed up to the event. Even a local news reporter had to admit that this was getting pretty boring being out there. No one was there. There was nothing to cover. It was a non-event. Nobody came. 4 weeks from the election, they can't even draw 10 people to an event. Now, by contrast, Mike Pence over the weekend held a rally in Florida, and over 4,000 people came in support. Gang, when your opponent's vice presidential candidate is drawing an infinitely higher crowd than you and your running mate can even hope to draw, you know your campaign is in trouble. But then what on earth do we do about these polls that show Biden 14 points ahead? What the flying hell is going on here? And I got to admit, for a while, I was pretty perplexed myself. And when all is said and done, what seems to be going on here is that, the old Yogi Berra saying, right? It's deja vu all over again. In a nutshell, it's 2016 all over again, meaning that we're seeing this massive discrepancy between the opinion polling as reported by the mainstream Marxist media and actual voting. For example, you may not know this, but no incumbent has ever lost the general election after receiving 75% of the primary vote from his own party, and Donald Trump received 94% of all votes cast in the 2020 Republican primaries. That's why Helmut Norpoth of the University of Stony Brook University, who's developed the single most accurate election forecast model, which has predicted rightly 25 of the last 27 elections going all the way back to 1912, He gives Trump a 91% chance of winning re-election with over 360 electoral votes. No incumbent has ever lost a general election after receiving 75% or more of the votes from their own party in the primaries, and Trump got 94% of the vote. So here we have actual voting data, actual votes, actual elections with actual winners, and the results could not possibly be more discrepant from the opinion polls that are being peddled by the mainstream Marxist media. So what's going on here? Well, one reason for the discrepancy is that many of these polls are surveys of what are called registered voters. Now, that's the cheapest, easiest way to conduct a poll. It's just contacting people who have registered to vote. The problem here is that half of registered voters don't vote. So it's not an accurate assessment of the electorate that's going to come out on November 3rd. Another factor for the discrepancy is how the polls are weighted. So when you conduct a poll, right, you can't predetermine how many Democrats versus how many Republicans are going to end up answering your questions. So what you have to do, or what you're supposed to do, is take your poll results and then adjust them to actually represent the partisan percentages of the population. So 35% of the population is Democrat, 35% is Republican, and 30% independent, but your poll results are 60% Democrat, 20% Republican, 20% independent. Then what you have to do is you've got to adjust those numbers. You don't adjust the answers, but the numbers of respondents to more accurately reflect the partisan allegiances of the population from which the data was drawn. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of shenanigans come in. A lot of these polls give the Democrats something like a 10-point advantage, which is absurd. Not only because the two political parties are more or less equal in terms of national voter registration, actually GOP is a little higher, but such an arbitrary advantage wouldn't apply to deep red states like Alabama or Utah or Idaho. So these polls end up being no better than just a coin toss. But when we do a deep dive into these polls, we're actually finding something much more sinister, pernicious going on here. And here I'm indebted to the analysis by Steve Deace. Now, if you don't know, Steve Deace is a frequent guest on the Glenn Beck program. He analyzed polls for the Cruz campaign back in 2016, and he recently did a deep dive with the latest Rasmussen poll that has Biden winning by 12 points, 52% to Trump's 40%. Now, just to put that all in perspective for you, if that were true, if Biden really were beating Trump by 12 percentage points, this would be the single biggest Democrat blowout since FDR beat Herbert Hoover in 1932. It would best FDR's fourth-term re-election in 1944 when we were ending World War II in Europe and ending the Depression. It would best Obama's blowout in beating McCain in 2008. It's beyond credulity. So what on earth is going on here? Before that, we've got a special free offer just for you. We, of course, are in election year, and of all of our presidential elections, few were as absolutely stunning as the election of good old Donald Trump 4 years ago. But how could so many of our elites, from the mainstream media to political pundits, how could they have been so wrong in 2016 and still not get it in 2020? Gang, that is what my book, President Trump and Our Post-Secular Future, explores. In its pages, you'll discover precisely what our political class miss and what they continue to miss. That the election of Donald Trump was nothing less than a symbol of the end of secular globalism as our dominant political paradigm. And so throughout this book, you're going to discover all the various ways in which Trump's nationalist populism is redefining politics for the foreseeable future. And to make it even sweeter, to make it even better, for a limited time, you can get my book, President Trump and Our Post-Secular Future, absolutely free as an ebook download by clicking on the link in the pinned comment section below. That's right, absolutely free, but this is a limited time offer. Do not wait. Click on that link in the pinned comment section. Get your free copy of my book, President Trump and Our Post-Secular Future, today. Let's get ready for November 3rd. So Steve Deace has spent some time analyzing the data from the latest Rasmussen poll that gives Biden a 12-point lead over Trump. And what he found inside the internals of the poll absolutely shocked him. Whoever conducted the poll for Rasmussen, for whatever reason, they are projecting, get this, they are projecting that Trump is only going to win 76% of Republican votes. There's no explanation whatsoever why they weighted the poll that way, why they purposely manipulated the data in that way. I'll say that again. The Rasmussen poll that gives Biden a 12-point lead over Trump assumes that only 76% of Republicans are going to vote for Trump, even though Trump got 94% of the vote in the GOP primaries. To put this in the context for you again, in the last 7 presidential elections, the lowest percentage that any GOP candidate got of the Republican vote was George Herbert Walker Bush in 1992, when he got 73% of the vote. And that was because Ross Perot siphoned 20% of the vote from him, which, as it turns out, were mostly GOP defectors. By contrast, Trump got 88% of the GOP vote in 2016, and that was in the midst of Glenn Beck's anti-Trump platform. Many of the National Review boys were boycotting Trump, all of which has mercifully ended, of course. Glenn Beck is thoroughly now on the Trump train, as are many of the NRO boys. You may have seen this from the Federalist. This is from David Sound, a former avid never-Trumper. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, but I'd crawl over broken glass to vote for him now. How's that? I mean, you have never-Trumper after never-Trumper coming out and saying, mea culpa, I was wrong in 2016. I'm all with Trump in 2020. So this Rasmussen poll that predicts that only 76% of Republicans are coming out to vote for Trump is an absolutely absurd poll. I frankly have no idea what's going on over Rasmussen. I don't know how they even remotely justify weighting the poll to only 76% of Republicans voting for the candidate that has the highest GOP approval of any Republican candidate ever, including Ronald Reagan. Trump polls consistently in the high 80s in terms of GOP approval and support. An Economist YouGov poll back in December of 2019, so within the last year, found that a majority of Republicans, 53%, think Trump is better than President Lincoln. So I have no idea what Rasmussen is doing, but these parallel polls are an indicator really of what's really going on here. Wayne Allen Root has done a great job of sort of smacking us all back to reality. He wrote a recent piece that reminds us that if we just focus on quite literally everything for the exception of the mainstream media polls, everything is working in Trump's favor. The recent Gallup poll shows that 56% of Americans, nearly 60%, say that they are better off under President Trump than they were 4 years ago under Biden and Obama. Now that number, 56%, is the highest number ever recorded by Gallup. According to the Real Clear Politics aggregate polling that averages out all of the polls, Trump is ahead of where he was at this time in the election against Hillary back in 2016. Again, all you have to do is look at the rallies. Trump has had over 250,000 people attend his rallies since Labor Day. 250,000 people have attended his rallies, and during that exact same period of time, Biden has seen just 84 show up. So all the metrics outside of this ridiculous opinion poll show an absolute blowout for Trump, which means, as the good old Yogi Berra once said, when we compare 2020 to 2016, it's deja vu all over again. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how President Trump has set a new Gallup poll record, all as the single most accurate election prediction model projects an absolute Trump landslide. You're not going to want to miss this, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless, and make sure to get out and vote.